The weather is going to change drastically soon, going from the calm conditions we've been experiencing lately to a more active and dynamic pattern, with a number of storms, severe weather, heavy rain, and possibly winter weather in various regions of the nation. The atmospheric setup is converging in a manner that indicates a notable uptick in activity over the next few days, with a number of important features influencing the prediction. Analyzing the 500 millibar height and wind patterns is one of the best tools we have for looking at long range weather patterns. The larger scale influences that shape surface weather systems can be better understood with this information. At the moment, two main features at the top level are noticeable. The first is a massive low pressure system that has been hovering over the southwest US for a few days and currently closed off. The second is the polar jet stream, which is located over the northern part of the nation and is quite strong and moving very quickly. A cascade of severe weather occurrences will be precipitated by the combined effects of these two systems, which will intensify the overall pattern. Please subscribe, like, and comment with your thoughts before we get into the specifics. I appreciate your backing. Areas in dire need of precipitation can expect an influx of precipitation as we progress through the early week, as more moisture is drawn into the southwest. Concerns about wildfires in Arizona, Nevada, and parts of California will be eased by the arrival of moisture from the Pacific. But in places with burn scars where the soil is less permeable, an excessive amount of rain in a short amount of time can cause its own set of problems. This calls for vigilant monitoring for the possibility of flash floods and debris flows. This includes areas in southwestern Arizona as well as cities like San Diego and Los Angeles, particularly in mountainous regions where orographic lifting increases precipitation totals. Rainfall rates could be heavy at times. And midway through the week, the action starts to heat up. In the south central United States, severe weather is likely to develop as a result of the interaction between the closed low in the southwest and the surging Gulf moisture. Wednesday will see a swell of warm, humid air moving northward into Texas, setting the stage for potential thunderstorms. Areas in Texas have already been designated for a severe weather outlook by the Storm Prediction Center, indicating that the threat is substantial enough to merit prompt action. The possibility of damaging winds and tornadoes will grow as the system develops, although isolated storms producing hail will initially be the primary concern. As we head into the weekend, cities like Dallas, San Angelo, and Austin should all keep an eye on the weather. Also, many parts of the Northeast will experience their season's lowest temperatures as the polar jet stream forces cold air from the Arctic to move into the region. This cold wave appears to be centered in the Northeast, avoiding the deep South in contrast to earlier outbreaks that affected a larger portion of the nation. Still 20 to 30 degrees below normal temperatures, possibly accompanied by dangerously cold wind chills, will hit states like Maine, Vermont, upstate New York, and Vermont. There is a classic recipe for major storm development: very cold air in the Northeast and very warm air in the South. On Thursday, a more organized line of storms is likely to form, increasing the severe weather threat. A mesoscale convective system, MECMES, characterized by a long-lived thunderstorm complex that generates damaging winds and embedded tornadoes, could form from this. Power outages and localized flooding could be common storm impacts in the San Angelo, San Antonio, and Dallas areas. If this scenario comes to fruition, flash flooding may occur as a result of the excessive rainfall rates brought on by the multiple rounds of moisture that are expected to pass through certain regions of Arkansas, Mississippi, and Louisiana. The severe weather is just one of the many concerns. In an unusual move for this time of year, The Weather Prediction Center has already designated parts of the south central US for an excessive rainfall outlook for day 5. If you live in low-lying areas or near rivers, you should be very concerned about the heavy rain that is predicted 5 days in advance, as there is a slight risk of flash flooding. We should monitor this closely. Storms and heavy rain will hit the south, while winter weather will be mixed in with the northern side of this system. Western Pennsylvania, Ohio, and Michigan will get a blast of snow from a swift clipper system that dives across the Great Lakes. Downwind of the Great Lakes, lake-enhanced snow will form, and by Wednesday morning, there's a 77% chance that Rochester, New York will get 2 inches of snow. As the main storm system moves westward, it will bring snow to Colorado, New Mexico, and even Arizona on the backside. The higher elevations are especially at risk if this develops into a significant winter storm. Preliminary forecasts indicate that certain mountain regions may receive more than a foot of snow, though final accumulations are still up in the air. Drivers in these areas should brace themselves for rough roads, particularly when the system's cooling effects take hold. The larger scale pattern indicates that this active weather will persist into the weekend and beyond. In the next 6 to 10 days, the Climate Prediction Center predicts a pattern reversal, with the west of the United States experiencing colder than average weather and the east experiencing warmer than average conditions. More storm systems are likely to form in the central United States as a result of the atmospheric battle zone that will be created by the shift. With a higher probability of snowstorms in the northern plains and intense weather in the south, February is developing into a very active month. The 8 to 14 day forecast indicates a new change, with colder air trying to push eastward again after the 10-day window has passed. Some areas in the Midwest and Northeast may experience more snowstorms as a result of this. So far, the best window for a major snowstorm this season in Chicago appears to be between February 2nd and February 8th. Thus, what is evolving the jet stream is the central nervous system that storms use to move from one location to another. The current jet stream pattern has been plunging southward from Canada, entering the southern United States, and subsequently bringing storms to the southeast and then up the east coast. Some of the recent winter storms that hit the south and east were made possible by that. Now, however, there is a tremendous change as that pattern is moving westward. Storms will now originate in the western United States, over the Rocky Mountains and the Great Plains, rather than the eastern Gulf. This means that the Midwest, Ohio Valley, and Central Plains will experience more frequent snowfall as winter storms and major snow events move westward and northward. Meanwhile, hotspots like the Gulf Coast and the Deep South are disappearing. And yeah, right now, temperatures are also a major component of this pattern shift, so let's talk about them. Temperatures across much of the country have been below normal or nearly so. There have been some major cold outbreaks, and that will happen again, but this time in a different form. The northern plains, Midwest, and Northeast will be hit hard by a much colder air mass as February progresses. In my opinion, those parts are in for a considerably chillier February, with the possibility of some genuinely Arctic outbreaks, particularly in the first half of the month. Concurrently, the southern United States will experience a significant increase in temperature due to the configuration of the jet stream. Extended periods of above average temperatures are in store for regions like the Southeast, Texas, and portions of the East Coast, as warm air from the Pacific Ocean and the Gulf of Mexico continues to surge northward into the southern and eastern United States. Even though winter hasn't ended just yet, any cold snaps that do occur will probably be short-lived and followed by quick warm-ups. Since we aren't limited to winter weather, let's discuss the implications for storms now. Now that everything is in its proper place, the severe weather season will begin to heat up in earnest. The time of year when severe weather like tornadoes, damaging winds and thunderstorms is rapidly approaching. As a result of cold air being trapped in the north and warm air being trapped in the south, that is an ideal environment for the development of powerful storm systems. And in the coming weeks, particularly in areas like the Southern Plains and Dixie Alley, we may witness some fairly substantial severe weather events. Severe weather season may begin to heat up around the middle to end of February, so residents of those areas should start paying attention now. So, what's on the horizon for the near future? A number of storms are expected to hit this week already. On Tuesday, snow will fall in the Northeast and the Great Lakes as a system moves through Canada. Though this storm won't be a blockbuster, it has the potential to bring moderate to heavy snowfall to certain regions, particularly those at higher elevations. Additional snow will hit the Northeast on Wednesday from yet another fast-moving system. The storm wasn't particularly heavy, but it did produce a few more inches of rain in certain areas. On Thursday, though, things start to heat up, and we could see our first big storm, according to this new pattern. As it moves eastward, a system is expected to form over the Rockies. It is predicted to bring a variety of precipitation, including snow in the Midwest and rain and thunderstorms in the South. Parts of the Southern Plains in Dixie Alley may experience strong storms, which could be the first significant severe weather event of the season. After that, this pattern will be followed by a series of storms, with the South expecting more rain and the Northern Plains, Midwest, and Ohio Valley more snow. The next several days are going to be quite stormy, and any storms that do form will be very different from what we've experienced this winter. While most of the United States should expect a milder than average February, that doesn't imply we won't still see a few significant cold waves. One or two major Arctic blasts, particularly in the Northeast and Northern Plains, are possible. The most recent forecast from the Climate Prediction Center backs this up, predicting colder than average weather in the Pacific Northwest and Northern Plains, and above average temperatures along the East Coast and Gulf Coast and in the Southwest. I don't think another winter storm will hit the Gulf Coast, in case you were wondering. I don't want to say it's impossible because weather can always surprise us, but the current situation makes the likelihood of another snow event along the Gulf Coast very low. In conclusion, a significant change in the weather pattern is on the horizon, which will increase the frequency and severity of winter storms in the Midwest, Ohio Valley, and Plains regions, while also causing extreme heat and cold in the South. Make sure you're subscribed and have notifications turned on so you won't miss any updates. I'll be tracking all of this closely. Thank you for tuning in. If you enjoyed this forecast, please like it and return for the next one.